Hey, this is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. It's time for another episode of the Grease and Gears Garage Roadshow. It's a little different than what we've been doing. We have been bringing the whole show out to you guys at the rallies, but now we're going into the shops with the builders. Today we're going to visit Pat Patterson from Sled Customs in Dayton, Ohio. We're going to go into the shop that they call the Dungeon and see how Pat does what he does. Stick around. It's time for another episode of the Roadshow. This is going to be a blast, you know. I mean, Dayton, Ohio is it's that cool little town in the Rust Belt and everything, and it's got some great hangouts and great people. But for me, you know, Pat and I kind of grew up in the motorcycle industry together.
Look at us out of that building. Battle Axe plugs for 10 cents. Yeah, you and Pat have known each other for a long time, all the way back to before Limp Nicky Law.
Before Limp Nicky Law, before like when Cycle Source was still just a local free thing.
And he was still just riding, you know, he's kind of just getting his legs under him in the motorcycle.
Back then, Pat was doing custom painted Sportsters.
Right.
You know, but he had a real cool idea in his head that someday he was going to revolutionize how people looked at Sportsters. And I mean, sometimes I want to put my hands around his neck, but you can't take away the credit for him that he's actually done that. In Pat's time, he's made Sportsters cool. He's made Sportsters,
and he is the reason Sportsters are cool. You know, there's a lot of people now that probably would like to take credit for it, but Pat Patterson, Sled Customs, made Sportsters.
Pat, that's CYCLE SOURCE magazine.
So this is Pat's neighborhood. You've been to Pat's house, haven't you?
I have. Pat has a nice house, which is incredible because you'd think as crazy as his ass is that he'd live in some broke down old trailer park.
That's kind of what he looks like, but then when you meet Jen, like most of us, when you do better half, everybody's like, really?
Here's something to talk about real quick. How about the amount of effort that we had to put into having microphones and cameras in this truck?
Holy crap. I mean, we've been working on this for 3 days.
And here's the worst thing. There's nothing more pitiful looking than two fat guys wrestling over square footage in front of a truck, trying to run wires and hold their breath. And
oh my God.
I started off painting and did that at my house, and then kind of moved into the Dungeon here and just slowly started accumulating machines, and pretty much went from painting bikes to, now we CNC and have a full parts line, Springer front ends, frames, oil bags, rims. Well, at that point in my life, I had been driving semi-trucks. I got my first truck when I turned 21, and my dad still drives. I mean, that's all I've been around my whole life. I still kind of consider myself a truck driver. There's a truck driver inside there. But I just always, driving trucks, I guess looking back, I really didn't know, but I guess I just kind of always thought there was something else I was going to be doing, but I didn't really know. I just always had this dream of starting a bike shop. And I didn't even know what that extent meant. I just wanted a bike shop. I wanted to get a little lathe and be able to make grips and have a t-shirt.
We're here at Sled in Dayton, Ohio. And this is where, in the Dungeon, as I call it every time I come here, this is where all of the stuff happens. It's ground zero for what made Sportsters cool. We're here with Pat and Joe and Jay. You and I, when I was the spokesperson for Progressive Motorcycle Insurance, you and I met when I gave you a Progressive Pat Bear.
Yeah.
Which was a little weird. But you also got the opportunity to build a bike for them that was a feature bike, the Progressive bike. And then I used your parts to build Todd Matthews, his bike.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's been prominently featured recently on Disowned Customs social media. We were just looking at it.
Yeah.
But that's great. So Danny appreciated that bike as much as we did. Well, I tell you what, we're here. We're gonna set some stuff up. We're gonna get some things rolling. And then Joe, how long have you been with Lead Sled?
Approximately 11 years.
11 years. And Pat, how long has Lead Sled been profitable? About 11 years? No. Joe does a lot of work here. Pat, you know, is the boss. He never gives him enough credit. No, Joe is, he really is, he is as much Lead Sled now as Pat is. I mean, you guys have.
Oh yeah, you know, when I have to be out on the road, it all works together. You know, we have to do a lot out on the road. We have to do a lot here in the shop, and we just have formed a good relationship to where we take care of everything pretty good.
Right on. And you guys are going to see Jay. We're going to try not to let you hear him. If you do hear him, it's probably a body noise that I'll just say excuse for him. He's a young guy, doesn't have a lot of social etiquette. But Jay just graduated from the Power Sports Institute in Cleveland, who, of course, is a great friend of Progressive International Motorcycle Shows, the Cleveland show every year. And so Pat has kind of taken him on here and is letting him kind of earn his stripes here in this custom shop. So anyway, all right, well, folks, we're here with Greasing Gears Garage Roadshow and Lead Sled Customs, and we're going to be going around and seeing what they do day in and day out here. So this is Pat Jansen, and we'll be back after these messages.
What's up, guys? Jesse, your MC at the world famous Iron Horse Saloon. Remember we told you just a little while ago about the Iron Horse Saloon Road to the Rally Entertainment Series? It's time to give you your first batch of fans. You ready? We're going to kick it all off February 22nd on the indoor stage with Quaker City Nighthawks. Then we come back March 23rd with the Artisanals. Then we're going to fire up the outdoor stage for the first time of the year, May 26th, with HAIRBALL. Then prepare yourself for June 8th. Uncle KRACKER's coming back. Give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll. July 26th, we're going to get hot with Shooter Jennings. And don't forget, at each and every one of these shows, we'll be giving away Chrome Club passes, VIP passes. You never know. Some of these shows will be free. Some of these shows you're going to need a ticket. You can get all the details and tickets at ihsturgis.com. Check this out. You can also get tickets at Sicky's Garage in Rapid City for all the shows. It's the Road to the Rally Entertainment Series with the world famous Iron Horse Saloon. I hope you're ready.
Pat, appreciate you having us here at your home shop. You kind of had to spread out, which becomes evident when we travel over to your other shop, why all of this equipment in there. But you got into spinning these fenders a minute ago. How long have you been doing fenders?
Man, probably, I think around 05.
Yeah.
When we started spinning.
When you started with this machine.
Yeah, this machine right here was, actually we picked it up out of St. Paul, Minnesota, and brought it home in the middle of winter and pulled a semi-truck trailer out in front of the shop and practically ran an extension cord out to the trailer and hooked this thing up to three-phase out there and
Just started at it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a look at your more modern version of this, because you're doing so much production now. You're doing them for so many people. You started just doing them for yourself, really,
Yeah.
and then other guys found out you were doing them, and there's not a lot of people doing this in the United States anymore. Anyway, to try to get we're not going to do one on this because it's manual labor, but kind of walk us through this. This is you put your steel blank there.
Yeah, this is actually our wheel disc blank.
Because you do the covers as well.
Yeah, this is for the mag wheels for the Sportsters. But yeah, you know, we have a circle sure over there. You pretty much cut the circle out, put it on here with the backing plate, you know, and pinch it in with the follow block, and then I could simply say then you just spin it, but it's a little.
Well, then you spin
it's
it.
a little more interesting than that. But yeah, you use what they call, these are called scissor rollers. So you put, you know, tension and torque,
Right.
and finesse all together with, you know, the way you push it down and you roll the metal.
With this machine, you were doing about 100 fenders a week.
Yeah, we used to spin about 100 fenders a week in that trailer with this.
Oh,
so, you know, we had to finally step it up to something CNC because we were spinning so many of them. You know, you just physically couldn't.
Now, how many you're
make it
spinning on the
happen.
CNC machine?
Like number-wise?
Yeah, a week.
I mean, it's hard to tell because we throw
Just
so many
spin on orders,
tools.
yeah.
Yeah, and like if we set it up to run a job, you know, we'll usually maybe spin about 100 blanks of a size. You know, just put them on a pallet.
Right on.
You know, and just let them ride until we need them. All right, now this machine we're spinning our 9-inch fenders, and depending on what fender we're spinning, you know, we have our flat top or mohawk fenders. You can have up to 3 tools back here, so sometimes this thing will change tools. This particular fender, we just use one of the wheels. That's all we need the whole time. But you know, this machine, you put this buck up. That's what we call our tool, and you put the tool you're going to be using up against it back here, and it actually goes around and it'll contour this buck where you start and finish it from. Then once you have that contour, that buck in there, you have to come and use these joysticks, just like a video game kinda, and you spin the fender with these joysticks. So then this computer saves your program of what you've just spun, and then it'll reproduce it. You know, you have the chuck open and close where you want it, your spindle speeds and all that. But kind of more importantly, you kind of have to know how to hand spin or know the process to begin with to even function, to be able to, you know, to do this. It's not like you just, you know, buy a CNC spinner, throw a piece of metal on there, put your buck in, and go to a book and figure out how to do it and hit go. You know, you still have to know what you're doing and know how the metal works to reproduce, you know, on this scale. And then 94 was my first year to Daytona. And then my mind was just blown then because, you know, I put drag pipes on my bike and that was the extent of what I did. Went to Daytona and I'm seeing people like Arlen Ness's bikes and stuff like that down there. And as soon as I got home from Daytona that year, my bike, my Sportster was completely tore apart. Everything on it, getting chrome done, getting, they were called Mirage wheels from Sturgis Wheels back then. Like you couldn't even really buy wheels for your bike hardly back then. It didn't seem like. I had to go find the magazine that there was one page that had like Sturgis rims, like custom billet wheels, and there was only 3 designs to even choose from. Spinning the fenders on here, we have taken the circle shear first. We punch a hole in them with the hole punch, throw them on the circle shear. They have to be cut to the specific size of the tool and the fender we're doing. You know, you can have the same tool, but you have different width fenders that you need. Like 150 is spun roughly on the same tool as, say, a 180 or a 200. And those fender widths vary from a 7-inch to an 8-inch to an 8.25. So anyways, you stick your flat blank on here and, you know, the follow block squishes it up against your butt. But the wheels come in, the spinning wheel, and you know, you can't just hit this one time and just push it over. You know, the way the metal works, you have to finesse it. Different metals are different. I mean, aluminum, depending on what you're using, is kind of like butter, but you still have to be careful with it because you can push it so hard. If you try to push aluminum like steel, you'll fold it right over and it'll fold in half right off the rib like Play-Doh. So you really have to finesse it with a lot less pressure, and it'll do more with less pressure. But you know, you just have to come in. You got to hit down on the side first, you know, to kind of start blocking it to your tool. But you know, you kind of hand motions, you kind of finesse it, you know, and bring it out to the tips, and you push it down, and you just keep locking it down in this area and keeping the metal out here, almost like a cymbal. You know, it kind of follows that shape. If you push too hard, you'll get what we call an ashtray. Remember the old ashtrays in the 70s? They come out and they're all wonky, so you can light your cigarette in, but as soon as you do that, and you're trying to work it out, but it's like, no, it ain't gonna go, then your like freaking arms are shaking. But you just gotta, you know, once you do that a handful of times, you start realizing where you just went wrong and you can't come back to it. We have, like, I usually spin all the wheel discs, so we have it down to the exact size to where I can spin it right where it needs to be. But once again, Joe may jump over there and need to spin one really quick, and he may be an 1/8 inch past where he needs to be, so he needs to clean it up.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like if you've been around and seen us spin, sometimes we'll just maybe cut things in a general area because it could be him or I both doing it. So we just, you know, instead of having Pat's pile of metal and Joe's pile of metal, we just throw it up there and we will trim it.
All right. Well, very cool. Well, we're gonna jam over to the shop and check out because you're doing all the other stuff, the wheels. And
Yeah, we've got
custom
some invaders I got to weld up over there right now. We're machining some spokes for our speed hole invaders. Joe, I think, is in the middle welding our horseshoe oil bags together. So, you know, and Jake just loaded up some fenders and he's heading back to the shop. So.
Oh man. Okay.
All right, yes.
So
at this point, we have a fender. We have to cut it in half and weld it together. Then we'll use templates to cut out the sides and
because that
shape the
that
ends up.
blank becomes a shape, and then that's 2 halves of a fender. So you're going to cut that in half. All right. Very cool. How do you go about cutting that in half, and what's the process?
Well, at this point, we turn Jake loose with his fancy fender cutting ability and tacking methods that he learned up in Cleveland at school, and we let him put them to work here for us.
All right. Well, Jake, take it away and show us how you're going to go ahead and make that ashtray a fender.
Usually every time I turn around, he's chewing on the fender.
Him or the cat? All right, so Jake has now gone ahead and he's cut that in half and he's tacked it together. Now you can see where the fender shape's coming from.
I see it.
You see it? That's good, because if you didn't, we're all screwed. Now what happens after this?
At this point, Joe or I will weld the seam up in the middle, and then you know, this fender here looks, I think it's 9-inch, so this will be for like a I don't know, 200 series tire. You know, if a guy, this is actually a little wider, but some guys want them wider for fender struts or internal stuff they're doing, you know.
So you're gonna weld it up, and then what happens with it?
Then Jake will bring it back over here. We have specific templates depending on how much sidewall a guy wants. Some guys don't want any sidewall, and then, you know, due to the order or whatever we're doing at that moment, you know, he'll cut out the sides and he'll trim the ends, and then take it over to the Burger King and clean down the weld and ship it.
From beginning to end, then, you're going to have really 3 people that are going to have touched this?
4.
4.
Jen's put it in the box and ship it.
Oh, Jen's got to put it in a box and ship it. So there's 4 people that it takes to kind of get this through the process. And, you know, that fender then that's a process. So I always point that out because when people buy product, you know, they're always like, man, why is stuff so expensive? Well, it's because, you know, you got to pay people a living wage. And, you know, company has to make money.
Well, and yeah, across the board, I mean, our fenders are priced, I feel, very fairly. And for the quality and the material you're getting, I mean, that's 13 gauge steel. That's practically an 1/8 inch thick.
Yeah.
You know, that's a nice stout fender that you can weld your bungs to, weld it to the bike, bolt it to the bike, and it's not going to crack under stress or vibration down the road. You know?
So it's American-made product, and you know, made right here in Ohio. That's a quality piece you're going to get.
And the blanks we use are actually out of the Humvee roofs.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, there's a shop here in Dayton that has the contract where they cut out the roof of the Humvees and they laser cut the gun turret teeth for the guns that go in the roof of the Humvees. So they have to cut that part out of the roof to put the gun turret in. So we get all their blanks.
So all the holes, all that was scrapped to them,
Yep.
you're able to take and produce a fender for it. Man, that's I forgot about that story. That's a great connection that you have there with those folks. So, well, Pratt, I appreciate you showing us that, and thanks for loaning us Jake to be able to show us how to put that together. We're going to take a break, and we'll move to another part of the shop.
What's
the next process you're
We're going to weld up. I'm going to show you some flanges, the way I weld up some flanges for the rear rims that we build, and also we're going to be machining some of the spokes for our I-beam invaders that we build.
All right, folks. Well, we are Grease and Gears Garage Roadshow. We're here at Lead Sled Customs, and we are going to be right back after these messages. We'll be right back.
What are you looking forward to? Watching these guys crash these bikes.
Don't tell Mom.
Pat, one of the things that has impressed me in the last 3 or 4 years with where you're taking Lead Sled Customs are your wheels. I mean, you've done a phenomenal job. How did you get into the wheel thing, and tell me about your wheel selection?
Well, we used to buy wheels from Scotty out in Invaders for quite a while, and you know, he called me one day out of the blue and wanted to know if I wanted to buy some wheels he had left in stock because he was pretty much going to go out of business. And I called him back. I'm like, man, I don't really think that, you know, the Invader wheel should just quit being made. You know, with him, you know, he helped us out, taught us a lot of what he knows and what he's done throughout the years to perfect them and, you know, making a good quality wheel. And then, you know, from there we actually started machining our I-beam wheels, and you know, just kind of made our own line of wheels that we like, you know, kind of custom.
Yeah, you guys have come out with some killer designs. I loved the wheels that were on the bike we mentioned earlier, the Progressive motorcycle insurance bike, the bike you built for them. Well, one of the centerpiece, literally, of your wheels that you build is the hub. So kind of walk us through what it takes here at Lead Sled to create the hub of your Invader wheel.
Well, yeah, when we start the wheel, you know, this is a flange, this is the drive side here. We'll have this water jet into what I call a donut, and then we'll put it on our CNC mill and drill and tap the holes. And then we have our hubs here. We put them on the CNC lathe. It's DOM tubing. You know, we machine that both ends for the bearings, and this is the rotor side. So, you know, we'll put them together. You need to line the holes up, because, you know, if you do 5-spoke, some guys like to put the 5-spoke rotors, and you know, we do a special sprocket and all that with them. But I'll put this in a jig, and it holds it pretty flat. And what I'll do is I'll stitch weld it. Yeah, I'll tack it really good. Then I'll go around and stitch weld it. And it pulls just a little bit, but not a lot. And then, you know, once it's welded up, we'll put this in. We'll go over to the manual lathe. Put it in the manual lathe, and pretty much face everything off. Make sure everything's straight. You know, so that way, if it does shift a little bit in welding, by the time we face it off and get everything nice, it's nice and perfect.
Okay.
Then, you know, we'll come back over. And sometimes I start with the drive side or the brake. It doesn't really matter. And then, you know, we'll put this on, weld it, go put the reversible jaws on, live center, and you know, do the same thing with this side. So when we're done, we have a perfectly matched hub with faced off sides for your sprocket and your rotor bolt too.
All right.
Well, my dad, I remember seeing my brother's yellow Nova back into the driveway one day with this weird 2-wheeled thing sticking out of the back of it, and it was just a Briggs & Stratton mini bike. And they pulled it out of the back and was like, "Hey, come over here and get on this thing, ride it." I'm like, "Huh?" So yeah, jumped on that thing. You know, had the old style brakes where it just pushed against the back tires, and I rode the wheels off that thing.
Joe, part of what Pat had gone down with us was that you guys make oil bags.
Yes, we do.
And so you guys are pretty much a production facility when it comes to all these parts now, which means that you're pretty much a production facility when it comes to these parts now. Go through the process. I see you're working on some horseshoe oil tanks. Go through the process of what it takes to build a horseshoe oil tank here at Sled.
Well, naturally, like everything else that comes around here, it starts out as a flat piece of metal or bar stock. We're building frames, tubing rather. So we have templates that cut these out. We use the plasma cutter commonly. We'll plasma cut the templates out, clean them up, tack it all together, finish TIG welding everything. As far as the process more so goes, we'll start from the top and bottom, a good foundation, the back. Then once that's all welded up, we'll put the inner, the inner tunnel in it.
Right.
And from there on, once that's all welded up, cleaned up, we'll wrap the front of the oil tank, weld it up, grind it to a smooth finish, then pop some holes in it for the bungs.
So what you're going to be doing for us now is you're going to be welding in the bungs.
Yes.
So the filler bungs, and you got 2.
Yes, we have one in the bottom already, which we've already went ahead and pressure tested the whole entire outside of the oil tank.
All right.
So that one's already finished for us. So yes, all that's left are the vent return and the feed.
Vent return and feed. All right, well, Phil.
Or Phil.
Phil, I was going to say, man, you're going to have to put oil in there someplace.
Someplace.
But, all right, well, how long does it typically take you from start to finish? If you were just going to make one, how long?
One complete oil tank from start to finish? Approximately 40 minutes, I would just,
40 minutes? 40 minutes to an
hour? We haven't
hour?
actually timed it, but yeah, if I was to guesstimate, somewhere around
all right, well, that's
30,
pretty quick.
40 minutes.
All right, Joe, so now when you finish that tank, you're going to pressure test it. Walk us through that process of pressure testing.
Well, when we pressure test it, we'll fill a tub up with water. We'll put a couple of MPT plugs in the vent return. We'll put a cap in the fill, and we've got a Schrader valve we made that will screw into the bottom of it that we can pressurize the tank a little bit with. Then we'll submerge the entire tank in water, check for bubbles and such, and mark where the pinholes are if there are any, then touch them up and grind it back smooth to where you can't even really tell anything ever happened.
Now, you submerge it in water. How do you keep it then from flash rusting?
Oh, when we wipe them off, we'll spray them with WD-40.
Okay, real good. So when somebody gets the tank.
Oh yeah, these things are totally good to go when a customer gets it in their hands. They're ready to be mounted or filled with oil or whatever.
All right, man. Well, Joe, that's cool. appreciate you showing us that process. I think you want to take off a little in here in a little bit. I know that your wife, Allie, another good friend of mine, man, we've known each other for years. She's pregnant. You're about to be a daddy.
Yes, sir.
You know if it's a boy or a girl?
Boy.
It's a boy. Do you know what he's going to be named?
We're naming Gentry. Gentry Allen.
Gentry
Allen.
Gentry Patrick Allen. Oh, okay. Well, Gentry Pat.
All right, we'll stick with that for now. Yeah.
Okay, Gentry Allen. That's a good.
I mean, you know, like, I just want to keep making good parts, and you know, we've never really chased any trends or anything. You know, we kind of get to do what we like doing, and people are liking it. So, you know, I think in the future, if we can just keep coming up with stuff and building parts, or even if we're reproducing older things that guys are liking for their bikes, you know, I guess I could see that that's where I'd like to be in the future, just still being a substantial part in the industry and, you know, in the culture and people digging our work.
All right, man, thanks to Pat and his whole crew, Joe, everybody there. This is a great episode of Roadshow. If you guys are digging what we're doing here, make sure you hit the share button, do the hashtag thing, like it, all that. Send us some comments and feedback. We're going to be out on the road all through this summer collecting more episodes of the Roadshow. If you'd like your shop to be considered for a stop, email us at the Cycle Source Magazine, man. We'll put you on the list and get you some information. Until the next time, I'm Chris Cowan. This is the Grease and Gears Garage Roadshow.